Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of the thisiswrestling.co.uk podcast. My name is Adam and I am joined today by the voice of FusionPro Wrestling, Nelson Rahi.
That's
Hello,
very
Nelson.
kind of you. Good to be here, man. Nice one.
And shall we say future wrestling sensation or YouTube sensation?
Current
Both.
sensation.
Both. Mr. Luke Hodgson, aka Luke Motto. Is it Motto or Moto?
Moto.
Moto. So like the old Motorola adverts.
I'm currently wearing my Moto right now.
Yeah. So it's good to chat to you guys.
Good to chat to you too.
Likewise, man.
Yeah. So I think I wanted to do a podcast for a while, and we have something kind of unique, I believe. Instead of most people relying on interviewing established people and talking about like outside knowledge, I think we have a bit of inside knowledge of the business and talking to some people who are going through becoming wrestlers themselves.
So sort of like grassroots indie wrestling.
definitely,
Yeah.
So Luke,
Yeah.
how is it that you've got into professional wrestling? Tell us your
Well,
story.
Well, ages ago when I was around 5, I remember when Woolworths, which is a UK shop in in the UK generally.
You're older than I thought.
Well, I remember my brother got a 2-pack of wrestlers. I didn't know the names at the time, but he started getting into like wrestling figures, and then it just started growing on that. And then I remember I got Rey Mysterio and Tatanka action figures.
Damn.
Nice.
And then I just started watching like the product, and the first ever match that I watched was Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Guerrero. I think it was
Nice.
2005, and I just got into it ever since then.
I think those two
That's
always
awesome.
had good chemistry with the whole family ties between Guerreros and
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
They were good people to watch. And so, who was your favourite wrestler growing up? Or
definitely Eddie Guerrero.
Guerrero?
Good church.
Good
Yeah.
choice. Who would you say is
Proper
your
range.
favourite wrestler now?
Favorite wrestler now? It's kind of a tie between because I'm a really big fan of AJ Styles, but then I'm also a really, really big fan of what they're doing with Finn Balor at the moment.
Do you believe that Finn Balor is being used to his full potential at the moment, though?
I feel like the way that he was represented back in New Japan with how he is doing now, I don't feel like they're using him how, like they should.
That's quite the thing at the moment, isn't it? That a lot of the guys that have made names for themselves on the indies in Japan, they're not being utilised to their best, I would say, in WWE.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, are we talking about WWE? Because that sounds like that's always been their issue, hasn't it? Like kind of integrating people from other companies into their product. I don't think they've ever done it well.
I mean, I've seen a lot of tweets, and it's people like questioning, are WWE snapping up all the indie guys that they can just to get them away from their competitors? This is probably the first time now that WWE has competition.
I think that's definitely been a tactic of theirs through the years. Like you sort of damage the competition by taking the best of their talent. And I mean, even being cynical, I mean, their sort of British Championship that they've done. I mean, they've done exactly that. And how serious are they about sort of setting up something in Britain? I'm not sure, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's obviously wrestling's massive here now in the UK. I think it's bigger than ever. We've got everywhere you go, there's wrestling companies.
Definitely.
So
British wrestling is blooming right now.
Yeah.
It
The
does
crowd.
feel, the crowd over here is. I saw some people from some American people on Twitter when I was at SmackDown, and they were commenting on it, saying that the British crowd is really good. I mean, they get behind it, and I don't know whether that's because us in Britain here want to watch it, whether that means a lot of Americans just go because they're used to it and they want to see it. But when they come over here, obviously we're behind it fully because we don't get to see it week in, week out.
Sure.
Definitely.
And I think NXT UK is probably going to be a hit because of NXT as a brand in general, and with how big UK wrestling is. Is it in WWE's long-term plans? We don't know, only time will tell. But these contract rumours that have been flying around.
Have you heard the crowd at TakeOver UK?
I have, yes.
That was crazy.
Yes, it was.
What was that?
The crowd at NXT TakeOver UK in Blackpool.
Just really good atmosphere, was it? Or
amazing. So I'm pretty sure.
Carry on.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure some fans tweeted to Mr. McMahon asking them if they heard the chanting, and I'm pretty sure Mr. McMahon replied as well. Like Vince McMahon replied.
What was the chanting?
I think it was just general like loud popping. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like football fan abuse of like the McMahons or anything. All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was. Basically, the fans tweeted. I think it was along the lines of, "Did you hear that?" Something along those lines. And actually, Vince McMahon actually tweeted back, going, "Yes, I did hear that."
Wow.
So obviously, he's acknowledging that. But yeah, the NXT UK contracts. People have been saying that they could potentially be killing the UK indies. Obviously, I think they're limited to companies that they can now work for in the UK that aren't affiliated, let's say, with WWE. And one guy, if anybody was watching World of Sport, Justin Sizem, really good talent, and I saw him at the Fight Forever show in Liverpool last year. He basically came on Twitter and said that everyone that loves wrestling and stuff like that, not to join NXT UK, to do what they want to do and avoid it. And he got a lot of stick from that, but from the likes of Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and stuff. But could be a little bit biased as to obviously how good of a run they're having in WWE.
I think it's hard because I wouldn't begrudge anyone for signing. I can sort of see the intention there, because Britain's thriving, as we were saying, and wrestling's really taking off here, as in like our wrestling, not just sort of imported wrestling. And you sort of want that to continue, and you want it to grow, and you want to see what good will come out of this. We're going to have sort of an organic sort of movement, maybe culminating in a couple of big companies. Maybe, who knows, that might happen, but it won't happen if if the WWE sort of squash all of the indies here. So I can understand that sentiment, but at the same time, anyone signing up, like, how could you possibly say to an indie wrestler who's traveled all across the UK and spilled blood and sweat and everything else in probably crowds of 10 people and stuff like that, when they get an opportunity to sign for a company like that, you've got to take it, surely?
Yeah, I think that's the big question with like Omega and the Young Bucks, isn't it? It's everyone would love to see him in the WWE, but at the same time, would it turn out to be another case of Finn Balor or Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, guys that fit in well in the mid card, but they've not been used to say the main roster's style of wrestling? Because obviously NXT just puts on so good shows. I mean, TakeOver before the Royal Rumble, the atmosphere, the matches, the quality of the wrestling is on a different level than the main roster. And whether that's the freedom that they have there with Triple H overseeing it.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, do WWE have to sort of maintain their sort of, like, if you will, in inverted commas, like proper wrestling style that they've always had, or is there unwillingness to change and sort of embrace this sort of indie wrestling movement that's taking off?
Yeah,
I think that NXT's current product at the moment is one of the best that they have had in a few years.
Definitely.
Are you guys excited for the Super Bowl halftime show, the 6-man tag?
We were watching it. We watched Royal Rumble last night, and I was wondering what they were talking about, and then I only realised that it was Super Bowl next week. But yeah, it's a quite an interesting take on WWE trying to say, "Come watch us during the halftime show." It should be good.
The way that they did it was very interesting on how they completely slated Maroon 5.
Yes, the video that just name dropped Maroon 5 straight away into it. So
Yeah.
something along the lines of like, do you want to really watch Maroon 5 in the halftime show?
Ouch.
Yeah. But no, it's an interesting thing, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's only on the network, I believe. Is that correct?
I have no idea.
I was hoping for Luke to pop up there. Yeah, I think it's streaming on the network. So is it going to be a case of people are going to be, a lot of Americans are going to be middle of their drinks. They're going to be all fired up for the Super Bowl, and are they going to turn over from the halftime show, which is a big American tradition in Super Bowl? Are they going to turn over from that to watch wrestling? Who knows?
Forgive me, what's the deal here? So there's the halftime show, and WWE are putting a match on during that?
Yeah,
but it's not actually. Is it actually on? Is it?
It'll be premiered on the network.
Yeah, it's something they're doing independently, though, isn't it? It's not anything to do with
so
the
it's not like in the
Super Bowl.
ground, like right, okay.
Yeah. So that's what I mean.
That's
So it's a case of, are people just going to go, I'm with my mates, I'm at the bar, I'm fired up. Am I going to stop this now and tune into WWE Network, or are they going to watch it later on because it's the network?
Yeah, I struggle with that. I'm not sure why they would possibly want to compete with probably one of the most watched 10 minutes in the world.
Yeah,
it's
a tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of sort of American football or football if you're American. But I know of the Super Bowl halftime show. Just get the who's who of musical artists or whatever from around the world. You go back through history and you've just got the creme de la creme of sort of music who've appeared on that. So I find it quite. Maybe I'm a bit cynical, but maybe I do find it a bit hard. Gonna just stop watching that and just flick the network on.
Yeah, I think
it's for purists, isn't it?
Yeah, with it being on the WWE network as well, people are just going to go, I'll watch that later.
That's true.
It's kind of like our BBC iPlayer, isn't it? You can turn over and watch something else and go, I'll catch up on that later on.
Yeah, and you could just watch Nitro instead.
You could watch anything on the network for $9.99.
Hey Nelson.
Yeah.
Hey Nelson, so what do you think 2019 has in store for Fusion Pro Wrestling?
Good question.
Man, well, I think we're in sort of a phase of consolidation. I was talking to the guys about this the other day, and we've only had a year really of kind of putting on shows and sort of trying to claw back a little bit of income for the outlay. So I think being realistic, we have to sort of if we can just consolidate, if we can not go bust, then we've done really well.
Breaking even is the key.
Sorry,
breaking even is the key.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're just on the cusp of doing that, which is amazing. We were, for those who don't know, Fusion Pro sort of grew out of something called Conwy County Wrestling, CCW, and that was a consistent loss. Despite sort of everyone's best efforts and lots of great ideas and all of that. Really, it's hard, and indie wrestling's like that. We don't have a big benefactor sort of backing us. It's just us. So for us to break even is colossal, huge, and really encouraging. So if we can consolidate that, if we can just sort of implant ourselves on the local sort of people and be in their consciousness that yes, we're a local wrestling company, yes, we're an option, more than actually yes, I'd like to come. That'd be a brilliant sort of mindset for them to have. I'd be so happy with that. But if we can get that, then we're moving in definitely the right direction. And then, the future's exciting from there. So if we can consolidate this year, I'd be very happy.
Definitely.
Yeah. How do you see it? How do you see this year going?
I see it being a really, really important year for Fusion Pro Wrestling. Because you got like a lot of the greats. You got a good, amazing character in Everett Teague, G-Force, Brian Stone, all the people that the fans go crazy for, and then remember. And then each show, I feel, will get better, better and bigger every time.
That tends to happen as well. I mean, you're so right that we're so blessed with like some really great gimmicks. And I know I'm sort of biased, but genuinely, I enjoy watching Fusion more than any company, just because I am biased, but I do see the hard work that goes into it. But the quality is good, and I do enjoy it, and the gimmicks are great, and there's a lot of sort of charisma like sort of floating around. So I think you're right. As the sort of year progresses, especially towards the summer months, it all ramps up. It gets really exciting. There's the shows come kind of thick and fast. So yeah, I do agree with that.
I was looking at I was writing down the list of dates for work the other day, and when he said the 8 shows that Fusion have got planned, that we know of, it gets to a point where it's once a month.
Yeah,
and that to me blew my mind. That with back in the old days we were doing once every, what was it, about 3 to 4 months?
Yeah,
potentially.
It was. Sorry, go for it.
Sorry, and then there's even 2 shows that in August as well.
Yes, I did notice that. Yeah.
Is that the first time ever for Fusion?
It is for Fusion. For CCW, I think we had one year where we did it felt like about 12 events, to be honest. There was a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, we probably overreached, to be honest. But it's one of those where in naivety the opportunities are there, and it just seems like a good idea. But I have to say the academy is the thing that's changed the game for us, because instead of sort of paying out for wrestlers all the time, we've got our homegrown talent, which is brilliant. That's it makes a big difference, because then we've got people available that we can rely on all the time, and then shows are a lot easier, I imagine, to book and to confirm with venues. We can plan a year in advance, whereas we could never do that before. It was always very fly by the seat of your pants, which it's exciting, but I don't know if it's the best sort of fiscally speaking. But yeah, here we are.
I mean, with those days, it was a case of you're trying to book guys from other places, and they might not be available, or they didn't want to work. I mean, with the Fusion Pro Academy, and that you've got a good, is it like minimum of 10 people that are permanently available, and they're attending training regularly, and you can, instead of going from back in the day where it was, say, 2 matches were CCW guys, you've got now a show where 2 matches are potentially guys from elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the other 4 or 5 matches are homegrown guys from Fusion. I think that's a good testament of where it's going.
I think it's so important as well, because we really sort of develop our as a company, because I'm a big fan of sort of like wrestling history. Like, okay, everyone knows I was a huge like WCW fan, and one of their big things was always the tradition, of like kind of their wrestlers and their years of sort of titles and all that sort of stuff. Like, we can really start doing that because we've got a consistent sort of roster, So I think that's really exciting personally. I mean, we've got people like AJ Hughes and G-Force who've won a lot of things because they've been with us for a long time. And obviously they're talented people, but in commentary, I love talking about, the titles that they've won, the matches that they've had. I think it gives the whole company a lift and a feeling of solidarity. Like, we're not sort of a fly-by-night, wishy-washy company that have just popped up. We've actually been going for quite a long time. We've got talented wrestlers and a history to fall back on. So, again, that's sort of kind of strengthened by the academy. So, yeah, it's a really good thing.
I think
And then
sorry,
you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think it's partly down, through the commentary phase to yourself. I mean, you pretty much research everything, and you've got your notes, and you talk about the history and where the guys have been and characters and what's been happening. And there's probably a lot of commentators that don't even go into that much detail, just turn up on the night and just call what they see in the ring.
That's actually more me.
But you make it sound like that you've been watching these guys' careers since they were kids.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I mean,
it's really good, that you can bring that energy and.
But to be honest, I'm really grateful for that. That is that's almost like feedback from what I see in the ring. I see the dedication. I see people training. I'm in the Facebook groups. I see our guys training regularly. The enthusiasm, and like, how can you not get caught up in that? And when it comes to match day and show day, like, it is. I love being involved in Fusion Pro. It's probably the best thing that I do. It's excellent, and even though the graphics and stuff like that, I made an absolute balls up of the post this week. But
I did not even notice that until it was publicised.
I still maintain there's 3 men in a tag team. It's a 3-man tag.
That 3-man tag team match.
Oh dear. But yeah, but that sort of enthusiasm that I have for it very much comes from like seeing our guys training, seeing what's happening, seeing the ideas, seeing the logos that people are posting, like the the clothing, all that sort of stuff. Like, this is legitimately people just wanting to wrestle, like, and when it comes to show day, they put on a show, and I know for a fact, like, I'm involved in sort of running the Facebook page, and we get messages from people who say like we're their favorite company, or this show was excellent, or I really enjoyed that, or my kid really enjoyed it. Like, what's better than that? And it's just the best thing ever. It's brilliant. So it's very easy for me to get enthusiastic about it, to be honest, off the back of all that.
I think it's looking at I was showing my mate last night the the Independent Wrestling Awards.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing our guys in the shows on that, I mean, as Will said in training, if you look at the event of the year, and the first one on the list to vote for is All In, and obviously we know how much of a great show that was, and some of the other shows that are on it, and you just look down there and then it says Fusion Pro Wrestling, Masters of the Squared Circle. I mean, through however nominations that Fusion Pro got for that show, it's in a category with All In. And that's quite impressive, and and seeing newcomer of the year, the 2 guys that are up for that, and yourself in announcer, and James in is it referee or ring announcer?
Ring announcer, yeah.
Ring announcer, that's the one. I think it's how it's changed, and even something as simple as that can a little bit of what's the word? Recognition and promotion for. I mean, because someone goes onto that and they think, "Oh, what's Fusion Pro and who's this?" And
yeah, that was my hope as well. I was very much, if anyone sort of flicks down through the nominees and sees sort of Crimson Cage going against Brian Pillman Jr., and they might be curious, because like that was incredible to me. I loved seeing that. I loved seeing Crimson Cage in the same category as Brian Pillman Jr. and people of that ilk.
Yeah.
That's someone who's broadcast around the world. So amazing.
Fusion Pro is definitely expanding, especially with a big, reveal that's happening next month with the tag team titles that will be revealed for the first time.
It's just the company ever evolving. I mean, the tag division being introduced now, and who knows what the future holds for Fusion.
Definitely agree.
I mean,
I think the key is consistency.
Yeah.
We have to sort of, we're all involved in it, and we enjoy it first and foremost, and that shouldn't change. But like, we just have to keep that consistency and keep putting on shows and keep doing what we do. And like, it's already grown so much, I don't think we sort of we definitely didn't anticipate last year to go as well as it did. You know, I think we sold out every show, which is nuts for us. Like, we didn't expect that. We didn't anticipate that. You know, we're used to playing. We're used to sort of doing shows in places like Mock Draft.
Yeah.
If you guys know that, but I mean that holds about 3 people.
Well,
and,
with the
still didn't sell out.
show, with the Clandino show, with the the costing and the how many people could you get there, and having to put more seats out because we'd filled all the seats.
Yeah, that was good.
That's when you know that you think, okay, this is going to be a good night.
Yeah,
because the more people, the more atmosphere, the more the guys are going to be fired up.
I have to say, I love Clandino as well. Whenever we've had a show, they're an energetic, engaged crowd, and I love that. That's just especially Town Hall, Llandudno Junction as well, Llandudno Junction. Sorry, that's a great venue as well, and I'd love to go back there.
Llandudno is definitely my favorite place to wrestle in. The atmosphere when you're standing in the ring, you just like feed off the energy of the crowd. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome, man.
The first ever show in Conway, you were there, weren't you, Nelson, in the commentary?
Conway Civic Hall?
Yes.
Yes, I was.
That was probably... was it CCW? That's probably the biggest crowd that CCW ever had.
Actually, it might well be, yeah.
That was... because I remember the shows after that, obviously, to the left and the right and the front of the ring. There was people in the crowd, but on that one, they had them on the stage, you had them all around, and that was quite. As
Dusty Rhodes once said, they're standing on top of their kids.
What's the one thing that you would like to see implemented in Fusion Pro? So not so much as what you hope for the future. What would you, if you could put anything right now, what would you want to see or get established?
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a women's division.
Took the words right out of my mouth. That's about exactly what I was about to say. I think having a women's division, getting women involved in the training, I think that would be good for Fusion.
Definitely.
I think there may be some rumours of sort of heading in that direction. I'm not sure. Yeah, it would be good. It would be awesome. I mean, CCW did a show in the past called Fight of the Valkyries, and that was an all-women's wrestling tournament. I can't say for 100% definite, but from the research we did, I think that was the first of its kind in the UK. An all-women's wrestling tournament. I'm sure someone's done it somewhere. Apologies if anyone has, but as far as we could see, that was the first. But I mean, I know our management, like people like Will, that really, really behind sort of women's wrestling, just because they love wrestling. That's as simple as that, really. But yeah, I'm sure there will come a day when that probably will come to fruition.
Hopefully, that would be a good thing, especially with the tag division being set up, and in the future having a women's division set up. I think that would round out the company as quite well.
Fusion Pro I feel like is definitely going to blow up at some point, because you have an amazing, you have amazing competitors with all different, gimmicks and characteristics, and they all have their input, and then you have amazing commentary as well, and the crowds keep on getting bigger and bigger each show. How many did Fright Fest have? Definitely over 50.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Again, that was another one we sold out, and really weird one, that, because we didn't have any advance sales, so we were very sort of worried, wringing our hands in the back a little bit. But then just everyone turned up in the last 10 minutes and filled out, and we had to get more seating, so people could actually sit down. So
I've heard some talk about possibly the Grand Rumble being really, really big for attendance. I've heard from a lot of people.
Wow.
So that could potentially be one of the biggest crowds.
I love it. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, Luke, when you said the energy of the crowd, like Lucomania is running wild, but we all do, though, right? I mean, there's nothing better than like an energized crowd like there to see you do your thing. That is amazing. So I really hope that's true about Ground Rumble.
I think if you look at the crowd as well, you're seeing people returning. You're seeing regulars show up, and it's okay for anyone to go, oh, what's Fusion Pro Wrestling? You know, what's WWE? What's NXT? Or let's go and watch the show, and then going, it was all right or something. Won't do it again. You know, and stuff. But when you've got people that are, you know, have turned up and they, you know, they've liked it and they go back again and again and again, I think that's when you've really hit it.
You see a lot of regular faces come back, and that's a really, really great feeling.
Yeah, they get involved in the characters, don't they? I mean, the reception for El Fantasma and the Sea Chant, it's you know, it's caught on, and it's been show after show and comments on Facebook and stuff. So it's not a case of, oh, I've turned up and watched this and he was good and that's the end of it. I mean, they're invested in that character.
Just going back, if I may, to what one thing I'd like to sort of implement. I would like to sort of grow us online more, because I think if we can get in sort of the local sort of population, then we're doing well. But I think for us to really sort of grow at some point, I mean, you know, not tomorrow, but maybe, you know, in the next 3-4 years, God willing, I don't know. But if we could sort of grow our online presence, then, you know, I remember CCW checking the page out once and just having a look at sort of where visitors were coming from, so we could sort of target our posts a bit better. And I was astonished, you know, people from China, Zimbabwe, Brazil, all over the world would like checking CCW out. And I would love to sort of like grow us in terms of social media. So yeah, that'd be the thing that I would implement.
The YouTube channels. Sorry.
No, you carry on. I love the randomness of video calls, phone calls, rather than being in the same room and predicting when someone's going to speak. We just hope that the little green symbol does not show up on the screen.
Just trying to find.
You continue.
Okay, sorry. The YouTube channel's doing really well. I'm pretty sure it was this year it's hit 300 subscribers.
It is, yeah. And again, that consistency is we've had more content more regularly than we ever had in the past. So yeah, I mean, that's awesome, because we don't actually promote our YouTube very much. We don't sort of, you know, like, share, subscribe at the end of it. We don't do any of it. Maybe we yeah, that's all sort of organic and very natural. But yeah, I think we probably should do.
I think with like the Twitter presence as well, like, I mean, not that I've, like I said, this is the first episode, and you know, it's been an idea that I've wanted to do for the better part of 6-7 months now, probably even longer than that. And having set up the website, and it's not fully set up, and I'll get around to that eventually. But just having the Twitter account, and if you're on Twitter, I'm not like a follower person, you know. I don't want millions of people following me. I'm quite impressed that I've got around 300 people following me on Twitter. But it's just simply from they do a lot of follow trains for the wrestling world. So I think pretty much every random days we'll have like a follow train, you know, and you follow the person that's followed this, and etc. And that's how I've got the follows up. But it's more of a, you know, if we're talking about Fusion Pro Wrestling now, and it's a small company based out of Llandudno or North Wales, and it's, if one person might listen to this episode, you know, a few hundred people might listen to it, thousands of people could listen to it, whatever. But with the passion that goes into Fusion Pro Wrestling, if any of those people from around the world, you know, look into Fusion Pro Wrestling and they like what they see, then that's a job done for.
That's a huge win.
Promoting it. And I think that's the great thing about social media is something might not be everyone's cup of tea, but there could be a handful of people in Japan, or there could be a few thousand people in Romania, or, you know, they might like the product, they might see how much passion and effort goes into Fusion Pro, and they might get on board with that.
Yeah.
So Adam, I believe that the Grand Rumble is very interesting for a certain wrestler by the name of Enzo.
Oh. Tell us all, man.
So, there is a... how should we describe him? He's no stranger to CCW, but his first in-ring debut for Fusion, should we say, is going to be at the Grand Rumble, and he hopefully can steal the show.
This is very exciting.
Enzo Vincente, right?
Enzo Vincente, yes, the Brazilian stallion.
Yeah, man, much awaited. It's gonna be brilliant.
Hopefully.
Really, really good.
There's a lot of good people on the show, and I've been getting back into training. It's not had the best 2018 as I guess a lot of people might not have, and I think everybody finds has something to get back on track. And since being able to return to training last September, and I've not missed a Friday night since.
Wow.
I am Mr. Friday Night, by the way, Nelson. That's
that is a good
the running joke there. It's almost like the Darren Young Mr. No Days Off gimmick right now. But yeah, I've been back in training since September, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And it was a bit weird at first going back to training because everyone had disappeared, from what it was back in the day, except for Will and yourself and stuff like that. But I
just on that point, I mean, I guess we should point out that you were sort of one of the founding fathers of CCW, weren't you? So like 4 or 5 years.
Yes. But a lot of that was down to Will's vision of what he wanted to do, and it takes like a lot to go, hey guys, do you fancy doing this, and actually following through with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I said to myself, hey, let's start a podcast or a website, and 7 months later this is the first time, but
yeah,
to start your own promotion and training and shows and stuff.
I remember that quite clearly when because Will and I are great friends. For years we worked together in Birmingham, had all sorts of jokes, great times. But then he moved away to Wales, and then didn't see him for like 2 years, and then just like the memories starting to fade of this mythical sort of creature called Will, and then randomly got a call and said, would you like to be lead announcer wrestling company? Like, what? You have a wrestling company now. So yeah, it did. I mean, and that was the reaction of everyone here in Birmingham. Like, what? Will started a wrestling company? You what? Like, but yeah, there is something like audacious about that, and I don't know how you go about starting a wrestling company. But
I mean, telling people about it from my point of view back like then, it's people still are like, oh, how did you do that? And they don't seem to believe you. It seems to go back to this whole wrestling's fake, grow up kind of thing, and it's
yeah, I see a lot of that.
I mean, I'll argue with anyone all day that you can sit at home and watch Coronation Street. It's not real. You can sit at home and watch Star Wars. People aren't out there blasting people with lightsabers and stuff like that. It's acting. It's fake. It's a story. Wrestling is sports entertainment. I mean, don't want to sound cliche, but the hazards are real. I mean, we've all seen
fall off a 9-foot ladder.
Yeah, we've all seen what can happen. We've an incident last year, is realization of what can happen when things go wrong, but the determination and what these guys put into. I mean, it's what they want to do for what they love. And you can slate it as much as you want for being fake, and telling, I'm 30 and I'm still into wrestling, and I love watching it, and I love doing it and playing the games and stuff like that. And it doesn't mean that I'm crazy. It's just something that I'm into. But that sort of thing you see on Twitter of everyone arguing and going, you know, it's fake, and it just stresses me out, and I just leave instantly. Because I'll say something that I'll regret, but it's
a weird time to be in wrestling, isn't it? Because I mean, kayfabe, everyone's aware of the fact that it's you know, scripted, if you will, and yet we sort of maintain it. We carry on going with it, and I could sort of understand from the outside looking in why that might be strange, but yeah, I think we've sort of grown up sort of watching wrestling, and you know, all of our heroes are sort of wrestlers, and all of our favorite shows are wrestling. I think for us, I don't know about you guys, but for me, there is something about sort of emulating all of those amazing shows and wrestlers and things that I saw growing up, and sort of wanting to be a part of that sort of thing, and that would make no sense to someone who doesn't watch wrestling.
Yeah.
It's just that, isn't it? It's like we grew up watching it, and you know, part of us wanted to do it. I know a lot of kids, you know, they grow up wanting to be firemen, and they become firemen. It's just, you know, it's what you're into, it's what you want to do, and I mean, as I was saying that, you know, going to Fusion for the first time, training as Fusion, I didn't know anybody except Will, and you know, everyone was welcoming, and I will say that, you know, it's like a family. I mean, it's said in the group chat that it's a Fusion family, but it actually is.
Definitely.
Everyone's nice, and you know, we all rip into each other and stuff like that, but you know, it's all a laugh, and we're there, we supporting each other all the way. And
we definitely had too much of that, the opposite of that in sort of Fusion. Not Fusion, sorry, CCW. You know, all sorts of sort of fractures and fallouts and egos, and I think, again, having an academy and sort of instilling, you know, the right sort of characteristics in people and behavior, what we expect, that's a really good thing. You know, our guys are good guys anyway. You know, we don't have any idiots like with us really, like, but it's sort of like starting off as you mean to go on. That's the thing. Done that, and that's so important, because we didn't do that in CCW, and it ended up being quite a toxic place at times. You know, people coming in who didn't sort of adhere to the qualities that we sort of espoused and the things that we expected of people. You know, putting a ring up and down, should you be involved in that? Is it courtesy to do that? Or, you know, as an experienced wrestler, have you paid your dues already? Do you not do that? You know, so there was clashes there, and it was hard, but because we have the academy, because we have good sort of people who are willing to listen and join in and learn and take on sort of what the more experienced guys have, we're able to do that, and there's no complaints. And we as one sort of company, it's never sort of, you know, you're in trouble, so you've got to do this, or, you know, we don't like you, so you're getting the... It's just, we just do it together, you know, so everyone pitches in. I mean, how do you feel? Is that sort of fair to say, Luke? I mean, is that your experience? Luke?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I feel he was not listening to any of that at all.
No, I did listen. It just kind of glitched out at the last part.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, so what did you say again?
Don't worry, just rambling on. I was going on about sort of, just a family. Do you feel there's like a family sort of?
Yeah, definitely.
Fusion? Like, what's your experience with that?
I was listening to what you're saying with CCW, and like how sometimes having an ego can take over. But definitely Fusion Pro, we all look out for each other. We all make sure that we're okay. Like with Dylan, when he suffered that injury, he's still attending, you know, training, slowly getting back into it. And there's just hell of amounts of respect that we have for each other, especially when we feel like we're doing our worst. We're always there to support if any of us feel like we're doubting ourselves, if we're not reaching our full potential. And we all just always help and give constructive criticism, just try to push each other to be 110%.
Yeah,
I think that's
awesome.
something that the Fusion Academy's got, rather, because I wouldn't even say a CCW Academy. It was just training, wasn't it? It was just turn up and do what you did. But with the structure and, you know, me coming into it, obviously about a year after most of these guys that have been in there, and being welcomed in. But I think it's really good with the likes of Win and Scott, who are, you know, holding the training sessions, and there's structure to it, and they're good teachers and they're experienced, and, you know, obviously everyone respects them.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I mean, you always get a few people, you know, everywhere you go messing around, but, you know, when they're asked to stop, they stop because you know, it's respect. But I think that's what's so good about Fusion, obviously, is that the quality of the guys that are there, how regularly everyone turns up, and the quality of the training and the respect for the trainers and respect for each other. It's already miles head and shoulders better than what we ever did have at CCW.
Definitely agree with that. Luke, I wanted to ask you, so your character, your in-ring Jared Gorwin, and you play this, like, I mean, your partner's very demonic. I'm not sure how demonic you are, but
Definitely.
So what's the deal with that? How does that come about? How do you zone into that when it's show day?
When it's show day, I get geared up. I see, you know, Jay Shelley become Jay Shelley. And then I think, okay, this guy's pretty scary. So it's time to try and, you know, match that and just, you know, be a bit cocky and just try and have, like, a really cocky persona.
That's
but
awesome.
the way that I look at it as well is that the way that I've always kind of, like, looked at it when I went into training as well is that I've left, like, you know, the personality of Luke in, you know, outside, and then when I go into training, I turn into, like, Jared Gorwick. I just have, like, the mindset of, like, you know, doing it for, like, the hobby and also doing it for, like, the business, and doing it, you know, to try and educate myself and try and get as much experience as I can. But yeah, there's something really demonic about Jay Shelley, though. It is scary. made a kid cry.
I know, what the hell? What's interesting to me is because I remember seeing an interview with Warrior, and he was saying about where that gimmick came from. He was of the opinion that everyone's gimmick is sort of their normal personality, but ramped up like times 100 and just, like, exaggerated. So, Jay Shelley, should I be concerned?
The question is, should Luke be concerned?
Yeah,
He's the one spending the most time with him. If he goes missing one day.
All I'm going to say is that I'm glad I'm on Jay Shelley's good side.
I mean, are we going to see him in the papers or something, like sacrificing chickens or something?
Who knows? Jay Shelley's going to do what Jay Shelley's going to do.
He is, honestly. He is terrifying. I mean, both of you are, because you're huge as well. So, I mean, like, there's not a lot.
Yeah, no.
I was trying to explain too. I was walking to the bus today, and I was talking to a work colleague, and I was just I was joking around saying about how, you know, sometimes we were saying about the haircut. So I was thinking, you know, if I get a haircut, obviously, or style it to what I want to do for that character, you know, you're walking around with that haircut as, you know, yourself, you know, every day.
Yeah,
it's almost in a way of that in some aspects you live the character.
Yeah.
But I was trying to explain that, you know, like, when you're performing and stuff, when you've got an idea for your character, the best thing you can do is just get inside the head of your character. Because, you know, if you think about people like, you know, The Undertaker or The Rock or Austin and stuff, they didn't come out here, and The Rock didn't go, I'm the people's champion, I'm really good, blah 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 blah. You know, he got into the gimmick. You know, he came out there and he sold it like that was his personality. So I feel like, you know, and, you know, you look at Everett Teague, you know, he comes out and he believes what he says, and he's, you know, he's there, he's in the moment. And Jay Shelley, you know, with the face paint, he's in that zone. You know, they say about Jeff Hardy, he says that, you know, once the face paint goes on, he feels like a different person, and you know, he feels like that person. And, you know, Finn Balor said that, I think it was in Table for Three, when he was talking to the Hardys, he said, you know, like, he feels it's a different side of him that comes out when he's the demon. I think it, to get into the character is a good thing, because if you're invested in the character, people are going to be invested in the character.
Yeah.
So, Adam, do you have any goals for Fusion then this year? Do you have anything that you set out to achieve?
Basically, I just want to keep attending training. I want to get better. I want to practice and work with all you guys, and overall, I just want Fusion to become better, to get better, to evolve, and if I can play any part in that, in the ring, behind the scenes, social media, this podcast, whatever, if anything that I can do to boost FusionPro Wrestling, that will make me happy enough.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's the way it's going to go as well. I think for FusionPro to be successful, it's you guys being you and just enjoying it and getting stuck in, and sort of, in a way, like sort of being an inspiration for other people who might want to join, because they're going to see you guys doing what you're doing and doing it well and enjoying what you're doing, and they may fancy a bit of that, and there's so many sort of roles within FusionPro that we need filled, so we need, you guys just enjoying yourselves and being involved is the best thing, because that's sort of, it's like an upward spiral, you just inspire other people, you inspire yourself, and even, us guys who are already part of it, we see you enjoying it. It's all good. Definitely.
And you definitely have to have like crazy passion for it, because it's like now with wrestling, I'd do it, currently, with wrestling, I don't get paid at the moment, but that doesn't matter at all. I don't care if I did get paid or if I didn't get paid. It's all about like the passion, how much you enjoy it. Like, I love walking out of, the curtain, then to the ring, and then just taking in the moment, because it lasts a very, very short time when you look back at it. I miss being in the ring right now.
I have to say, I mean, it's true. I should enjoy it. I will never have that opportunity. I've come out as an before, like out of the curtain, and I had my intro music playing. Yes, I've got intro music, but like as a pro wrestler, like not many people will have that opportunity, man. Not many people will come out of that curtain for the crowd to see them. So I think you should so embrace that. That's an amazing thing.
Have you ever thought of stepping inside the ring?
Have I ever what? Sorry.
Have you ever thought about stepping inside the ring?
I wouldn't want to disrespect professional wrestling that badly. No, in my head, I'd love to, but I'm not fitting. I'm not, and I guess I'm probably better suited elsewhere, to be honest.
If you want to see fit, you're in for a shock in February. I'm exhausted walking down the road to the bus. I mean, if you were there at the training sessions, you should have seen the state I was at the end of last. You weren't there, Luke, were you?
No,
I was the human test dummy.
I saw in the group chat.
Yeah, and this was on a different level, Luke, as well. This was about 30 to 40 different moves I must have taken. It was everything. I was saying to Scott, I like getting involved, and if anyone wants to try something, and I'm not saying that I have disrespect for my health or disregard and stuff like that. It's if I can get the opportunity to like be hit with all these moves, or try these moves and stuff, and it's only benefiting me as well. I mean, it gives you guys, if you want to try something and people are a little bit uneasy to do it, I'm always up for taking most things, and but if someone calls something on the fly in a match sometime, at least I can think, I've done that before, or so I do have a quick question. Obviously, I think we'll probably try and wrap this up soon. Luke, obviously, I believe you're in a relationship, aren't you?
I am currently in a relationship.
Yes. How does she feel that you wrestle?
How does she feel about me wrestling?
Yes, like being involved in this crazy world.
Well, at first she was very confused because she didn't understand it. She didn't understand basically what it was at first because she hasn't really kind of like had an open mind about wrestling since it wasn't around her when she was growing up realistically. And then when she's come to the training sessions and helped construct the ring and all that, and she's like met everyone at training, and she's like been such a huge supporter and all that. Whenever I feel like I'm doing terrible, she's always there to be my rock and push me.
Dude, marry her.
I plan to. I'll do it now.
Tonight, damn. Do it in the ring, in fact. No, the reason I'm going off on one is because, no disrespect to anyone, but we've had it in the past where guys, they love wrestling and they're involved in it, but, the other half maybe wasn't so keen, and then it's hard to balance that. But if you've got someone supportive of your like kind of dreams and the things that you're doing, then that's a great thing, man.
I mean, I was asking to be because in my previous relationship, she wasn't a fan of wrestling, and then she grew to really like wrestling from watching it with me and me talking about
Wow.
how I used to do it myself. But it's that like when I first met her, I wasn't properly into wrestling again at that time. I was watching WWE regularly, but I didn't think about doing it again. And and obviously things happen and stuff. And I'm single now, and it was kind of I had that passion again to do it, and that motivation to do it, and that's been a thing. But I'll admit, talk to a few girls now and then, and you drop in the your interests. You drop in, I do a bit of professional wrestling, and boom, conversation's dead.
Really?
And that's why I was asking Luke, how his girlfriend felt about him doing it, but I saw something interesting which I never knew about Marty Scurll was on Take Me Out, and that video of him, obviously Paddy's telling him to say a bit about himself, and when he comes out he's lost a few lights, but then
really?
He's talking about himself. He's a good looking guy, muscly and stuff, and then the video comes up with Jimmy Havoc talking about him, and saying that he's a professional wrestler and stuff, and I think about 70% of the lights instantly went off.
Really?
And it's just a
wow.
It's a bit of a shame, It's
I've suffered from that a little bit. Like my previous relationship, bless her, nothing bad to say about her, but she didn't get it at all. And like for me, coming over to Fusion, it's a 3 a.m. start, 5 o'clock train, and I'm there till Sunday, and I'll be home about 11 o'clock and that sort of thing. So it's a weekend, it's a commitment.
Yeah,
I love it. I wouldn't change that for the world. I wouldn't want it to be on my doorstep. I love the journey. It's a part of the pilgrimage, But she didn't get that at all, and she hated it, and she really felt like my priorities were wrong and things like that. But I just think, man, like if you're passionate about something, like you just got to do it. Like you don't have to understand it. You got to respect your partner enough to do it. So, but you don't see a lot of that. You sort of, it's interesting that this sort of opinion that people have of wrestling and what it is and why you do it. I don't think people get it. But I mean, it is a niche thing, isn't it? It's not, the Queen probably doesn't sit down and watch wrestling.
No. But that's a good little video if you go on YouTube and watch Marty Scurll on Take Me Out. I just found it. I found it to a couple of events that had happened recently. It's like I thought, yeah, I don't get what this reaction to. I like wrestling. Okay, you're an idiot. You're a child. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a bit. It's like like I think the term of being a geek. Video games and stuff. That's really the thing right now. A lot of people are into video games and and stuff like that. And esports is becoming a really big thing and stuff. And there'll always be people that don't get how people can sit there and play a video game and get invested into it. But then you can argue about, how can you sit there for, I think the first episode of Harry Potter is 2.5 hours. You can sit there for 2.5 hours and get invested in a film or a TV show. There's more to getting invested into a video game. I mean, you're controlling, practically the outcome, but
yeah, I agree with that.
It's this like cloud that follows like professional wrestling or wrestling, being a fan and stuff. It's a very negative thing, and
I have to say, as a wrestling company, I think it's up to us the times a little bit, and I'm not even sure what that means really, but if we have to be ourselves, and we have to sort of kind of make a stand for what we are, and if people don't like us, that's okay, that's fine. But what I mean by that is sort of kind of just being accessible. Like, we don't have to stay the same as everyone else. We can do whatever we need to do. If there's an innovation that one of the guys, an idea that's going to work, let's do it. And I know, like, kind of the mentality at Fusion is that we're very sort of open to new ideas, we're very flexible, and I think that's what's needed, because people have been stung by wrestling in the past, basically. It's like Santa Claus, isn't it? You sort of believe it's all, Rick Rude is really beating the crap out of Sting or whatever. To be fair, he probably was. But then you find out it's sort of scripted and it kind of lessens it a little bit. But we have to sort of get around that, find a way of getting around that so that people can just invest in it and just kind of suspend their disbelief a little bit and just enjoy it, without sort of diluting it to the fact of saying, it's all fake, we know it's fake. Because then you sort of end up with, like, I don't mean this in disrespect, but you sort of end up with sort of Chikara style wrestling, where it's like almost comic book.
Yeah.
Like, they know it's not real and they play on it to such an extent, like, and all their gimmicks are very sort of cartoony. There's definitely a place for that. It's brilliant, and there's no questioning their talent and ability, because it's unreal. But for me, I'm still sort of a believer in that old school of sort of kayfabe, and like, this is a real fight between two real athletes. And to an extent it is, because you can't fake a wrestling match. You're still going to get hit. I mean, look at AJ's back. AJ Hughes' back after any match he's been in. He's covered in welts.
That rope burn.
And taking a knife-edge chop off someone, like, I often say, there's nipples flying all around.
Yeah, let's not talk about chops.
That was definitely heard that during the match between myself and Crimson Cage.
Oh, good lord, yeah, flipping heck, man.
That back and forth, that was
unreal. I mean, tell me, what's that like? What's it like having that chop fest?
That chop fest, when you're in the ring, you do not feel it because of the adrenaline. It's just as soon as you get to the back, all the pain that you didn't feel in the ring slowly just starts coming in waves.
I'll tell you what hurts instantly is when Leon Hunter chops you in training.
Oh, that noise echoed throughout the training hall.
It's been a week and a half and I'm still feeling it. The bruising crazy. Has just gone down.
Did he just full on open palm chop you?
I think it was open palm, forearm, elbow. I think every single part of his lower arm contacted with my chest. And I just remember Rory coming towards me, and I was like, no. And I just hit the floor with my hands across the chest. I was like, the only way that I'm getting out of this, like, circle of doom, is called, right now, is to not even act, to actually be seriously hurt. And I woke up the next day, and I've mentioned that it just feels like it wants to click. But, it's still feeling it today, but it was a good chop, to be fair.
See, that's a chop. I mean,
it's the realest move in wrestling. It's the realest move. It's what everyone gets you in the corner and you go to town. We all know that. So,
but I mean, okay, something like a power slam, that could easily win somebody, right? I mean, you're just landing on your back, being thrown from like 6 foot up in the air. Like,
it's that thing, isn't it? It's teamwork, isn't it? It's the guy knows how to land, the guy knows how to set you up, and it's all done as one smooth move. But if you found some guy on the street and picked him up and threw him to the floor,
which I do regularly,
he's gonna get winded. He's gonna get hurt. Like, there's no, and The match that I had against Welsh Dragon in the Super 8 CCW, and he runs from one corner to the other and big splashes me. I was legitimately winded. You can hear me coughing. I couldn't catch my breath.
Really?
Yeah, there's no give between Welsh Dragon and I think it was the Basics ring, because there's not even the part of, because of their turnbuckle pads, you can't really soak yourself into it.
They have those sort of like all-in-one MMA pads, don't they? They don't have individual turnbuckle.
And no, he legitimately winded me, and it's just something that happens. I mean, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna mess up something, and it's not a rosy ride. And people say it's fake and stuff, but get in there and do it yourself a day.
Yeah,
it's just training. I mean, all we can do is learn how to land safely and not kill ourselves and not to hurt someone else, but in still doing so it hurts regardless.
That's crazy. Fair play.
Yes.
Luke M, I've got to ask you, tell us all about your channel, man. What do you... Luke.
Yeah? Sorry. It keeps doing this thing where it like I hear a robot voice.
There was just a bit where Nelson's cutting out a little bit. So.
Okay.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
blimey, sorry, guys.
So about my YouTube channel?
Yeah, tell us all about that, man.
Well, I started it in 2015, but I've been doing YouTube since I think 2010, just experimenting with a bunch of stuff. But currently at 1,109 subscribers, and I just
nice.
trying to upload every Tuesday and Saturday, managing to do it well.
That's brilliant.
He's getting to that point now where I'm logging onto Facebook and there's something about Luke Motto on my screen at any time on Facebook.
I'm taking over.
It is.
Yeah, it's called Luke Facebook.
When we say future YouTube sensation, it's already happening. It's there. It's watch this video or see what happened here, or it's uploading time, or 4 hours from now. There's always something.
Definitely.
But that is good content. I've enjoyed the last 4 episodes that I've watched. No, I'm not lying. I'm not roasting you. I actually need to watch the latest episode. So,
the Reddit one?
The Reddit one, yes.
Reddit is brutal.
It's brutal. I'll enjoy that one then.
I can't wait to watch that either. I'm on Reddit and
definitely.
It's merciless.
They don't hold back.
Is it worse than Twitter though?
Twitter's sort of like ill-informed people with respect, and I'm on Twitter, so I'm talking about myself. But Reddit is like, somehow they just know everything. They'll just
the keyboard warriors are out in force.
Yes, it's like people who don't do anything but research shit so they can fuck you up. Yeah.
So does anyone have any last hello, Luke? Thank you for joining us.
I don't. There we go. I think it's working. I kind of zoned out for a bit.
You or the phone?
I think it's only happened. It's just gonna be a very, very awkward pause, and then it'll be like, "Hello."
Yes. Well, I think we've done this for quite a bit longer than anticipated.
How long have we gone for?
An hour and 10 minutes.
Wow,
that's really good. That's really good.
Yes, I'm surprised that we kept conversation going. I heard that you were very good at filling in silence and stuff, Nelson. I was told by Will.
So filling in what? Silence. God.
No, but thank you guys for joining me and doing this, and obviously I hope that you guys will be on another episode.
Definitely.
And we can talk to more of the guys and get their perspective on what's going on.
Real quick, I'd just like to I like to say that I think Jared Gork would like to see Nelson in the ring one time only.
Are we talking about a bit of a who was it? Eric Bischoff, Jim Ross storyline, maybe? If I remember correctly, was it them two?
Bischoff's feuded with everyone.
if I remember, if anyone doesn't, I'll probably Google this afterwards. But feel free to comment if anyone's actually going to listen to this. But I believe it was Eric Bischoff, and he had his black like karate attire in the ring, and he was supposed to fight Jim Ross, but I believe Stone Cold came out and filled in for Jim Ross and basically kicked the crap out of.
Man. You know, it's something for another episode, but I've got a newfound respect. Like,
you got a newfound respect for who? Sorry,
for Bischoff.
For Bischoff, yes.
Yeah, he did a lot of things right, man. I'd say. But anyway, something for another time.
Yeah, we could get into the whole Bischoff story. That's the whole episode. That I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys.
No,
and
thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Hopefully, maybe one day you'll return the favour and I'll be on a all-important episode of Luke Motto.
Definitely.
and not just getting neck breaked onto Crimson Cage's knee and training. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. And
thank you for allowing us.
Obviously, everyone subscribe to Luke Motto. Do you wanna throw out any hashtags, tweets, or links?
No, I'm going to subscribe to Luke Motto right now. I'm going to check. Then.
Have you not subscribed already?
I thought I had done, but I'm checking because
this could be a very spill the tea moment on a podcast.
See how the feud starts, Jared Gorwick and.
So, do we see a Nelson Rahi versus Jared Gorwick match?
I hope I see that one day.
I don't want to see that. There's a
No, Jay Shelley may be lurking around the corner somewhere.
Then I'm not even coming to that show. Subscribe to Luke Moto.
There we go. Is it just at Luke Moto? Luke Moto?
Luke Moto. No spaces.
No spaces. And you can visit our website at thisiswrestling.co.uk. And I think what was, I know we're getting sidetracked again before we say goodbye, but we were saying about the social media aspect of things. We got one blog uploaded in 7 months to the website, and it was by Niall. And I don't know if you read the blog, but it was an interesting read.
That was brilliant, yeah. Really enjoyed that.
But I looked at the statistics that Facebook gave me, and it was that the link had been interacted with 300 and something times. And I don't personally believe that we could have all clicked that link a combined 300 and something times. So, I think that's pretty...
A lot of it is probably Niall, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's probably 300 and something different times logged in on a device. He's gone into like test shops in like O2 and Vodafone, and he's logged into every single phone, and he's like view.
That's not a bad tactic, man.
Yeah, but if you can hit 300 people, even if they've just interacted with the link and they've read something, and hopefully some people will click on the link to this and see what Fusion Pro Wrestling is all about.
Definitely.
And hear the voice of Chocolate Pain.
I don't want to put them off, mate.
Right, so again, guys, thank you for joining, and hopefully we'll speak to you all soon.
Cheers, Mr.
Thank you for
Shenton.
joining.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.